everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of The Toy Shelf. I'm your host, Mitch Live, and I collect action figures. Today's episode is continuing on with our Marvel Select series, and this is kind of a part 2 to our Spider-Man episode, where we had a look at Spider-Man and the rest of the villains from my collection. So if you haven't checked that out yet, click the thing or just check it out after this. We're going to be having a look at 2 figures today, Venom and Carnage. So the story goes that an evil black symbiote from outer space joins with Peter Parker, who just happens to already have radioactive spider powers. It gives him even more impressive strength and abilities, and now he can literally just form his own suit, making it so that poor Peter Parker doesn't have to wear his underoos under his clothes all the time. That is when we first see the black Spider-Man suit, as seen on the cover of The Amazing Spider-Man number 300. But of course, he eventually realizes that the symbiote is drastically affecting his personality and decision-making. He finds himself letting anger and vengeance take control, and then he finds out that the symbiote is not super stoked on letting go. He eventually gets rid of it by exposing it to extreme loud sound vibrations, which is its only weakness. Unfortunately for him, the symbiote retains a lot of Peter Parker's abilities and that black spider suit, which just happens to merge with the next host, Eddie Brock, who has a huge hate boner for both Peter and Spider-Man. Eddie and the symbiote come together to form the character we know as Venom. Venom is an anti-hero because besides his unrelenting hate for Spider-Man, he's also not down with a lot of the other bad guys, and he's certainly not down for doing anyone's bidding, so he's just a rebel who lives by his own rules. Eddie and the symbiote become separated, and just the way a cell grows and divides itself into 2 copies, so did the symbiote. Eventually, Eddie gets back, he becomes Venom once more, but then this insane psychopath named Cletus Cassidy gets the other symbiote, and they create a much more unstable creature who is, of course, known as Carnage. Carnage here is actually my first Spider-Man villain. He's actually my first Marvel Select figure. In fact, this is the very first Diamond Select figure I ever purchased, and it pretty much inspired me to start seriously collecting. Carnage stands pretty much right on 7 inches, and Venom is just like a hair over 7 inches. And as I mentioned in the Spider-Man episode, this is a 7-inch figure line. The thing that jumped out to me the most when looking at this Carnage figure was the little tendrils that you can see popping out of his body. So his suit is very much fluid-like and is always changing shape, and I think they just do a really good job of depicting that with these little things that you can see poking out all over his body. If you look really close, you can see that there's holes all over him. These are actually interchangeable. You can just pop it up out of one hole and pop it into another, making his look very fluid, just like his suit. And this is just so badass because this is just so very much how the symbiote suit usually behaves. He also comes with alternate hands, or like alternate versions of his hands. It's basically just his suit formed into different shaped objects, which is again 100% accurate to the character. You definitely see him making pointy object to try to kill his enemies with. Very nice. This is very nice. Venom also comes with some alternate hands. You can see they've all got the little white square where the webbing comes out of his hands. We've got some fists, some open kind of human-sized hands, but the ones I have on are his monstrously large hands, which I just think looks so much more intimidating and badass and just so much more Venom-like. Venom also comes with this black back piece, which just kind of clips onto his back, and then it's got a bunch of little alternate heads and an extra pair of hands, but I absolutely made sure this part was removable before purchasing this figure because this is definitely not the classic Venom look that I think of when I think of this figure. But a cool accessory anyway. So they each come with 2 alternate heads. The first alternate head for each is basically the same as the head they're wearing now, except their mouth is a little more closed. I think this is the one that actually came on Carnage when I purchased him, and I switched it out to the more open mouth, jagged teeth looking one. And pretty sure the tongue hanging out is the head that did come on Venom originally, which I left because Venom and his tongue is just bleh, so badass. Bleh, bleh. And they both also come with alternate heads where you can see the symbiote suit peeling back to reveal their real face, which is also just so badass because you see them both do that in pretty much every depiction. You've seen them do it in the movie, in the comics, in the TV shows. So as far as alternate heads go, this is some top-notch badassery going on right here. I also love how these guys just tower over Spider-Man. Eddie Brock was your stereotypical meathead bodybuilder, so he absolutely should have a way larger build than Peter Parker. And Cassidy was maybe not built as big as Venom, but he was a tall, lanky guy. So very accurate, something I just love about this collection. And now there is nothing left to do but go and set all these guys back up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Toy Shelf. And remember, no matter what the maniacal symbiotic voices whisper in your head at night, we will kill the Spider-Man! I mean, you're never too old to play with toys.